Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed profound wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. The wonderful Dharma Lotus Sutra, Faith and Understanding, Chapter 4. At that time, venerable Subhuti, Mahakatyayana, Mahakashyapa, and Mahamaughayana, having heard from the Buddha the unprecedented Dharma and the world-honored one's prediction that Shariputra would attain Anuttara Samya Sambodhi, brought forth a rare result and were overjoyed. They rose from their seats, straightened their robes, bared their right shoulders, bent their right knees to the ground, single-mindedly put their palms together, bowed respectfully, gazed at the owner one's countenance, and said to the Buddha, "We, being at the head of the Sangha and being advanced in years, consider ourselves to have attained nirvana and to have had nothing left to accomplish. Hence we did not further our pursuit of Anuttara Samya Sambodhi. Long, long ago, the world-honored one began teaching the Dharma. We have been present throughout that period of time. Sitting with weary bodies, we contemplated only emptiness, marvellousness, and not action. Our minds did not take delight in the teachings for bodhisattvas, their playful spiritual powers, their purifying of the Buddha lands, or their perfecting of living beings. What is the reason? The world-honored one led us to leave behind the three realms and to attain the realization of nirvana. Besides, we are now advancing years. We did not feel the slightest desire for the Buddha's teaching that inspires the bodhisattvas toward Anuttara Samya Sambodhi. But now, in the presence of the Buddha, hearing his prediction of a Shravaka's attainment of Anuttara Samya Sambodhi, we experience great joy as never before. Now we are unexpectedly able to hear this rare Dharma. Deeply gratified to have been favored, we rejoice at receiving this outstanding benefit. It is as if countless precious treasures have come into our possession without our seeking them. World-honored one, we shall now be delighted to explain this meaning using a parable. This is a story about a person who in his youth ran away from his father, dwelling long in another country for perhaps 10, 20, up to 50 years. As he grew older, he became poorer and more needy, and ran about in the four directions in search of clothing and food. Gradually he wandered until he appeared upon his native land. His father from the first had set out seeking his son, but in vain. He settled midway in a city. His household was one of immense wealth, with limitless fortune and treasures of gold, silver, vidya, coral, amber, crystal beads, and other such things. His granaries and storehouses were overflowing, and he had many servants, vessels, and assistants, as well as numerous elephants, horses, carriages, cattle, and sheep. He profited from trade with other countries. He had business transactions with many merchants and vendors. Then the poor son, having wandered through various villages and passed through countries and cities, at last reached the city where his father had settled. The father had always been mindful of his son, although he had been separated from his son for over 50 years. The father never disclosed this matter to anyone. His heart filled with regret as he thought, "I am old and feeble. I have great wealth in gold, silver, and precious treasures, with granaries and storehouses filled to overflowing. How disheartening it is to have no son. One day I am bound to die, and when I die, my wealth will likely be scattered and lost, for I have no one to bequeath it to." This is why he ever earnestly thought of his son. He further thought, if I could only get my son back, I would make him heir to my wealth. I would be contented and happy, having no further worries. Woe on the one, the poor son, then hiring himself as a laborer here and there, unexpectedly came upon his father's house. Standing by the gate, he saw in the distance his father, sitting on a lion throne, his feet resting on a jewel footstool, and brahmanas, kshatriyas, and lay people reverently surrounded him. Pearl necklaces valuing the millions adorned his body. Assistants and attendants, holding white wreaths, waited on him left and right. Above him was a jewel canopy, hung with flowers and pendants. The ground was sprinkled with fragrant water and strewn with rare flowers. There were rows of precious objects, which were disseminated, received, taken in, or given out as he pleased. Such were the various adornments and the magnificence and magnanimity of his awe-inspiring virtue. Seeing that his father possessed such great power, the poor son felt intimidated and regretted having gone there. Secretly he thought he could be a king, or equal to be a king. This is not the kind of place where I will hire myself out. I would rather go to a poor village where I could easily work to the best of my ability in exchange for clothing and food. If I stay here any longer, I may be forced to work. With this thought, he quickly ran off. While sitting on the lion throne, the wealthy elder recognized his son upon seeing him, and his mind rejoiced greatly. Then he thought, now I have someone to whom I can bequeath my wealth and treasuries. I always think of my son, but I had no way of seeing him. Then all of a sudden he came by on his own. This is exactly what I wish for. Although I'm old and decrepit, I still yearn to see him. He immediately sent attendants to chase after his son and fetch him back. The attendants caught up to him quickly, causing the poor son to shout resentfully in alarm, I haven't done anything to you. Why am I being seized? They gripped him even more tightly and forcibly dragged him back. The poor son believed that he was innocent, yet he had been restrained. He expected to be put to death. Even more frightened than before, he fainted and fell to the ground. The father saw his son from afar and said to the attendants, I do not need this person. Do not force him to come along. Sprinkle cold water on his face to wake him up, but do not speak further with him. Why was this? The father knew that his son's aspirations were lowly, and that his own eminence and nobility would embarrass him. Although he was certain that this was his son, he expediently refrained from telling people, This is my son. The attendant said to the son, We are setting you free. You may go wherever you wish. The poor son experienced great joy as never before. He rose from the ground, walking off into a poor village to see food and clothing. Then the elder, wishing to entice his son, contrived an expedient. He secretly sent two people, haggard and wretched in appearance and lacking dignity, saying to them, You may go there and gently tell the poor fellow that you can take him to a place where he can work and earn twice as much. If he agrees, bring him back and put him to work. If he asks what work he is to do, you may tell him, You are being hired to sweep the way down, and the two of us will work along with you. The two attendants immediately went in search of the poor son, and when they found him, they conveyed the elder's projection in full. The poor son inquired about his wages, and then joined them in shuffling the menu. When the father saw his son, he was struck with pity and wonder. Later on another day, the elder looked through a window saw his son at a distance. His son was feeble, emaciated, haggard, soiled with dirt and filth. The elder removed his jewel necklace, his sapphire upper garments, and his ornaments, and put on a coarse, torn and grease-stained robe. Smearing himself with dirt and holding a dance shovel in his right hand, he looked frightened. He addressed his workers, saying, "All of you work hard, do not be lax." By this expedient, he was able to approach his son, to whom he later said, "Hey, my boy, always stay here and work. Do not go elsewhere. I shall increase your wages. Whether you need pots, utensils, rice, flowers, or vinegar, or other such things, do not worry yourself with such matters. I can also lend you my old feeble servants if you need them. Put your mind at rest, worry no more, for I am just like your father. While I am very old and you are young and strong. When you work, you are never deceitful, lazy, angry, or hateful, and you never grumble. I have never seen in you such faults as I have seen in other workers. From now on, I will regard you as my son." From then on, the elder called him his son. Although the poor son was overjoyed with this encounter, he still saw himself as an outsider, a menial worker. For this reason, he was kept at work for 20 years, removing dung. After this, they came to understand and trust each other, and the son had free access to his father's house. However, he continued to live in the same place as before. World owner one. Then the elder grew sick and knew he would die before long. He said to his poor son, "I now own a vast amount of gold, silver, and precious treasures. My granaries and storehouses are filled to overflowing. You know clearly their quantities, and how much to take in, and how much to give out. Such is my intention, and you should fulfill my wishes." Why is that? Because I have now entrusted all my possessions to you. Use your discretion to act on my behalf. You should manage them with great care, protecting them from loss. Then, having received this instruction, the poor son assumed responsibility for all the goods, gold, silver, and precious treasures, in addition to the granaries and storehouses. Yes. He no longer limited his thoughts to longing for a single meal in exchange for his labor. However, he continued to reside in the same place and was still unable to let go of his lowly thoughts. After a short while, the father knew that his son had broadened his mind and outlook, and that he had exalted ambitions, and despite his former state of mind, knowing that his own life was coming to an end, he ordered his son to gather together his relatives, as well as the king, ministers, kshatriyas, and lay people. When they had assembled, he announced, "Gentlemen, you should all know that this is my son. I am his birth father. In a certain city he left me and ran away, suffering loneliness and hardship for over 50 years. His original name was such and such, and my name was such and such. I frantically searched for him everywhere in my native city. I unexpectedly met him here. He is my biological son. I'm his biological father. All my wealth now belongs to my son, and he is aware of all that has been paid out and taken in." World owner one, when the poor son heard what his father had said, he experienced great joy as never before, and thought, "I had no thought to see anything, but this treasury has now come to me unthought." World owner one, the great and wealthy elder is like the Tathagata, while we are like the Buddha's sons. The Tathagata has always said that we are like his sons. World owner one, because of the three kinds of suffering, we have undergone the anguish and torment of the samsaric cycle of birth and death. Deluded and ignorant, we took delight in lesser dharmas. The world owner one made us consider consider getting rid of the menu of sophistries about the Dharma. Diligent and vigorous, we have managed to realize nirvana equivalent to 1 day's wage. Having attained this, we rejoice greatly and were content, saying to ourselves that through our diligence and vigor, our attainments in the Buddha Dharma were vast and plentiful. However, the world on the one, knowing all along that our minds were attached to base desires and delighting in lesser dharmas, let us go our own way. He did not explicitly tell us, you will all have a share in the precious treasures of the Tathagata's knowledge and vision. The world on the one, through the power of skillful means, has explained to us the Tathagata's wisdom, having attained from the Buddha's nirvana that is equivalent to a day's wage. We took it to be a great achievement. We did not aspire to the great vehicle. Besides, by virtue of the Tathagata's wisdom, we were able to explain the great vehicle to the Bodhisattvas, despite having no aspiration to it. Why? The Buddha knew that we would incline to lesser dharmas. Through skillful means, he taught us according to our capacity. However, we did not realize that we were the Buddha's true sons. Not until this moment did we realize that the world on the one is by no means stingy in imparting the wisdom of the Buddhas. Why? We have been the Buddha's true sons all along, and yet we delighted only in lesser dharmas. If we have had a heart for the great, then the Buddha would have taught us the Dharma of the great vehicle. In this sutra, he teaches only the one vehicle. In the past, in the presence of the Bodhisattvas, the Buddha disparaged Shravakas who delighted in lesser dharmas. However, the Buddha always intended to teach us the great vehicle. That is why we say that originally we had no desire to see anything, yet these great treasures of the Dhamma King came to us unsought. That which the Buddha's sons should attain, we have already attained. At that time, Mahakasyapa, wishing to restate his meaning, spoke in verse. We on this day, hearing the sound of the Buddha's teaching, experience great joy as never before. The Buddha said that Shravakas will become Buddhas. A cluster of supreme treasures came to us unsought. It is as if a young boy, immature and ignorant, left his father for a distant land, wandering from country to country for over 50 years. His father worried, looking everywhere for him, until tired of the search. He stopped in a certain city, where he built himself a great estate, and amused himself with the fine desires. His household displayed his vast wealth. It gleamed with gold, silver, giant clamshell, carnelian, pearl, and vaiduya, and was filled with elephants, horses, cattle, sheep, carriages, palanquins, and chariots. He had abundant lands and many servants. The profits and interests from his trade extended to other countries as well. Merchants and vendors were present everywhere. Multitudes in the tens of millions of courtiers surrounded him in reverence. Always beneath by neighboring kings, he was respected and admired. The ministers and noble class all honored him. For this reason, his acquaintances were numerous. Such was the magnitude of his nobility and wealth. But as he grew old and feeble, he yearned for his son even more urgently. Day and night, he thought only of him. My time of death is drawing near. My foolish son left me more than 50 years ago. What shall I do with the resources in my granaries and storehouses? Then the poor son, seeking clothing and food, went from city to city, from country to country, sometimes gaining something, sometimes gaining nothing. Starving and emaciated, he developed scabs on his body. he continued to travel, hiring himself out as he went, until he arrived in the city, and finally at the house in which his father lived. At that time the elder sat in his gateway, under a large jewel canopy on a lion throne. Surrounded by his retinue, he was attended by various people. Some of them were counting his gold, silver, and other valuables. His expenses, earnings, and assets were noted and recorded in the ledgers. When the poor son saw his father, so noble and dignified, he thought his father was a king, or equal to a king. In fright he rebuked himself. Why have I come here? Further he thought, if I stay here too long, I may be oppressed and forced to work. Having had this thought, he ran off in haste. He inquired about poor villages where he sought work. Just then the elder sitting on the lion throne saw his son at a distance and recognized him without a word. He immediately commanded his attendants to seize his son and bring him back. The poor son cried out in alarm and fainted, falling to the ground. These people have caught me. I shall certainly be put to death. Why has my search for food and clothing brought me to this? The elder knew that his son was foolish and lowly. He wouldn't believe me if I told him. He wouldn't believe that I'm his father. Then he used skillful means and sent some other men, one-eyed, dwarfed, and ugly, all unimpressive in appearance. Relay this message to him. We will hire you to clean away dung and fields at twice your normal wages. When the poor son heard this, he happily followed them back to remove the dung and fields, cleaning all the houses and dwellings. Through his window the elder would often watch his son, pitying him for being foolish and lowly, and for enjoying menial work. Then the elder put on a worn and dirty robe, and holding a dung shovel, went to where his son was. Expediently approaching him, he said, "Work with diligence, for I have increased your wages and provided you with oil to rub on your feet, your fear of food and drink, and thick warm bedding." Thus he exhausted his son earnestly. "You must work hard." And then in tender tones he added, "You are like my own son." The elder in his wisdom gradually gave his son discretion over the house. For a period of 20 years, the son was put in charge of household affairs, showing him his gold, silver, pearls, and crystal, as well as the process of receiving and distributing his wealth. He made sure his son knew all of his affairs. Yet the son remained outside the gate, dwelling in a grass hut and thinking of his poor state. None of these things are mine. The father knew his son's mind had gradually broadened. Wishing to bequeath his wealth to him, he summoned the members of his clan, the king, the great ministers, the kshatriyas, and the householders. In the presence of this great assembly, he said, "This is my son. He left me and went away 50 years ago. It has now been 20 years since I saw him return. Long ago in a certain city, I lost this son. Searching far and wide for him, I at length came to this place. Everything that I own, be it houses or servants, I bequeath to him, that he may use as he pleases." The son recalled his former poverty and his lowly aspirations. Having obtained precious treasures, along with dwellings and other valuables, from his father he rejoiced greatly, such as he never had before. Then Buddha, in the same way, knew our preference for the lesser. Never did he say to us, "You shall become Buddhas." Rather, he said that we could seize all our thrones, achieve the lesser vehicle, and become Shravaka disciples. The Buddha had instructed us to proclaim the supreme path. Whoever practices this path shall attain Buddhahood. Indebted to the Buddha's teaching, for the sake of the great Bodhisattvas, employing various causes and conditions through many parables, words and numerous expressions, we expounded the answer
Buddha's disciples, who heard this Dharma from us, pondered over it day and night, and diligently practiced it.
Thereupon all the Buddhas gave them prediction, saying, "You in the future age shall become Buddhas." All the Buddha's Dharma, the esoteric treasury, is set forth only for Bodhisattvas. The essential truth has not been revealed for our sakes. We were like the poor son who drew near to his father. Although he knew of all his possessions, he had no desire for them. In just the same way, although we expounded the precious treasury of the Buddha Dharma, we did not aspire to it. We consider attaining inner stillness to be sufficient. Having completed that, we saw nothing else to achieve. And even when we had heard of purifying Buddha lands and teaching living beings, we took no delight in this matter. What is the reason? All phenomena are empty and still, neither rising nor ceasing, neither great nor small, without outflows and condition. Having perceived them as such, we took no delight in them. Throughout the long night, we had no craving for or attachment to the Buddha's wisdom, nor did we aspire to it. We believed that the Dharma we had attained was the ultimate Dharma, that by practicing the Dharma of emptiness throughout the long night, we had managed to escape from the suffering and distress of the three realms, that we were in our final incarnation and would settle ourselves in conditioned nirvana, that what the Buddha taught had resulted in our attainment of the path without falsehood. We assumed that we had thereby repaid the Buddha's kindness. Although we, for the sake of the Buddha's disciples, taught the Dhamma Bodhisattvas, by which they should see Buddhahood, we ourselves never aspired to or took delight in this Dharma. Seeing this, our guiding master bade things be, because he saw into our minds. At first he did not spur us on by telling us the real benefit, like the wealthy elder who, knowing his son's lowly aspirations, used the power of skillful means to soothe and calm his mind, and afterward entrusted him with all of his wealth. The Buddha, in a similar manner, contrives rare occurrences. Understanding the minds of those prone to the lesser, he uses the power of skillful means to calm and attune their minds, only then teaching them the greater wisdom. On this day, we have attained what we never had, that for which we originally had no desire has come to us uninvited. Just as the poor son gained countless treasures, now one on one, we have attained the path and its fruits. Within the teaching of freedom from outflows, we have attained the pure eye. Throughout the long night, we observed the Buddha's pure precepts, but only now have we gained the reward. In the Dharmas of the Dharma King, long have we cultivated pure conduct. Now we have attained the state free of outflow, the unsurpassed great fruition. Now we are all truly Shravakas, who have been led to awakening upon hearing the voice of the Buddha. Now that we are all truly Arhats, it is fitting for us to receive offerings from God's people, demons, and Brahmas, dwelling in various worlds. The world owner one, in his great kindness, uses this rare occurrence to compassionately teach and benefit us all. Throughout the incalculable quantities of eons, who could ever repay his kindness, giving one's hands and feet, bowing one's head to the ground in obeisance, whatever offerings one makes could never repay his kindness. If one were to bear him on one's head or carry him upon one's shoulders, for eons as numerous as the Ganges sand, revering him wholeheartedly, or honor him with delicacies, limitless valuable clothing, all types of bedding, various techniques and medicines, and ox heads and wood. Or if one were to build stupas and temples with various precious treasures, and cover the ground with valuable garments, if we think such as this, one were to make offerings throughout eons as numerous as the Ganges says, one would still never repay his kindness. The Buddhas are rare indeed, immeasurable, limitless, and inconceivable is the strength of their great spiritual powers. Without flaws, without effort, they are kings of all dharmas. For the sake of lowly beings, they patiently carry out their work. For common folks who grasp at appearances, they teach according to what is appropriate. The Buddhas have attained supreme mastery of the dharmas. They understand all living beings, desires, delights, and willpower. Using innumerable analogies specific to individual ability, they teach the Dharma. In accord with living beings' wholesome rules from former lives, they identify those who have matured and those who have not yet matured. Through a variety of measures, they discern their situations. For the sake of the path of the one vehicle, the Buddha teach 3 vehicles in accord with conditions and the faith and understanding. Chapter 4, the Wonderful Dharma Lotus Sutra. Namo Sambanto Motona Boladi Adoja Janami Achimichi Dantakata Namo Washanting Boladi Uda Moda Moda Takata Namo Waho Paso Namo Sambanto Motona Boladi Adoja Janami
Achimichi Dantakata Namo Washanting Boladi Uda Moda Moda Takata Namo Waho Paso Namo Sambanto Motona Apalati Hadaja
Janami Achimi Jimi Dantakata Namo Washanting Boladi Uda Moda Moda Takata Namo Waho Paso. So, Guan Yin praise.
Bodhisattva Guan Yin is wonderful past gratitude, pure and clear are her adornments gained through practice ages long. See vast red lotus flower fragrant rest beneath her foot. Big curve of an autumn moon is in the crescent of her brows. Everywhere and constantly, sweet dew sprinkles from her veins. In her hand the willow branch through the countless autumns. Praise depart 1,000 hearts in 1,000 hearts. She answers, sailing the sea of suffering, crossing people over. Namo greatly kind and compassionate Bodhisattva of the crystal land, who dwells on Bodha, a mountain, and observes the songs of the world. Namo greatly kind and compassionate Bodhisattva of the crystalline, who dwells on Potola mountain and observes the sounds of the world. Namo greatly kind and compassionate Bodhisattva of the crystalline, who dwells on Potola mountain and observes the sounds of the world.
Okay, dedication of merit. May the merit from this practice adore the Buddha's land, repay the kindness from above, and rescue those in past below. May all see or hear of this resolve upon awakening, and when this body mixes and be born together in the land of bliss. 3 bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo